and welcome back to another episode of Presley Mania. My name is Rhonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to go over some new information that has come out in the Florida case. Priscilla has filed a protective order, a motion to stay proceedings, and let's see, there was one other thing. A motion to compel plaintiff's discovery responses. So her lawyer, actually, I think it's her lawyer, has been really busy. And a lot of the things are going to hinge on California, is what I think, and the actual trial that she has going on there. So let's go into this protective order that she has asked for. It says, motion for protective order. Defendant Priscilla Presley, by and through her undersigned counsel, hereby move for a protective order subjecting all discovery to a confidentiality agreement, a copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit 1. Okay. And in support thereof states. So it's going to tell us what basically they want here. Miss Presley is a well-known celebrity known for being the former wife of the late Elvis Presley. I'm so glad they said former wife. Aren't you? I really am. An evidentiary hearing is scheduled for July 21st, 2025 on Miss Presley's motion to dismiss plaintiff's second amended complaint. Okay. So remember, Bridget's and Kevin Fialco, their group, filed a second amended complaint, and there's supposed to be an evidentiary hearing on July 21st to see if that's going to stand or not. Jurisdictional discovery is pending, and the parties are seeking documents and deposition testimony from each other that Miss Presley considers to be and or contain confidential, private, financial, sensitive, and or proprietary business information. That's an interesting statement right there, isn't it? Parties are seeking documents and deposition testimony from each other that Miss Presley considers to be and or contain confidential, private, financial, sensitive, and or proprietary business information. Okay, let's let that sink in for a minute. That's interesting. For example, plaintiff Bridget Cruz has in her possession and has already used and expressed an intention to further use Miss Presley's family estate planning documents, Miss Presley's health care designations and terms, Miss Presley's personal financial information, Miss Presley's home address and personal cell phone, and other information that should not be made public for anyone, let alone someone subject to intense public and media scrutiny. Miss Presley is not seeking to prevent jurisdictional discovery at this time, but only seeks to set boundaries through the use of a confidentiality agreement to protect her sensitive and confidential information. As a result, on or about April 29th, 2025, Miss Presley, through her counsel, provided plaintiffs' counsel a proposed confidentiality agreement attached hereto as Exhibit 1. On May 2nd, 2025, plaintiff's counsel advised Miss Presley's counsel that plaintiffs do not agree to the entry of a confidentiality agreement. No doubt, this is because plaintiffs hope to use the disclosure of such information as leverage against Miss Presley in this action. However, considering Miss Presley's celebrity status and that the discovery being sought will contain confidential, private, financial, sensitive, and or proprietary business information, a protective order requiring the use of a confidentiality agreement is necessary to protect Ms. Presley's personal affairs. Okay, and it goes on and it states a case. We're going to skip over that. Let's go to the next one. This case undeniably involves Ms. Presley's personal information. As evidence of this, plaintiff's pre-hearing disclosures, which were filed on October 15th, 2024, in connection with the previously scheduled evidentiary hearing, included Ms. Presley's estate planning documents, Ms. Presley's healthcare designations and terms, and Ms. Presley's personal bank statements. Notably, these documents are neither relevant to the claims alleged by plaintiffs nor to the issue of whether Ms. Presley is subject to personal jurisdiction, the scope of the evidentiary hearing, and only further substantiate plaintiffs' and particularly Ms. Cruz's intention to disclose Ms. Presley's personal information. Florida law does not condone such actions. We're going to quote another case. As explained, Ms. Presley does not seek to impede discovery. Rather, she seeks to facilitate it while simultaneously preventing an undue invasion of her privacy. As such, Ms. Presley respectfully requests that this honorable court enter a protective order requiring that all discovery be subject to the confidentiality agreement identified as Exhibit 1. Okay, so let's skip over to Exhibit 1. Basically, what this thing says is, they need to be careful with what they're putting out there. It says to protect information like non-public business, trade secrets, financial, commercial, proprietary, or other sensitive information, the parties agree to be bound and comply with the terms contained in this confidentiality agreement. But they said that Kevin Fialco and Bridget, they disagreed with this. So we will see what happens, if it's going to be given or not. I hope I'm reading this correctly, because the way I'm reading it, and I may be wrong, it doesn't look like this has been granted. Yes, because it says here under Certificate of Good Faith Conference, wherefore Ms. Presley respectfully requests that the court find a confidentiality agreement is necessary and enter the attached order granting this motion and approving the confidentiality agreement. So it has not been put into motion yet. Okay, so the next thing is the motion to stay proceedings. And this is what I have been telling y'all that I felt was going to happen ever since July 18th, when Priscilla filed the lawsuit for elder abuse in California against Bridget Cruz and Kevin Fialco, and even Lynn Walker Wright, who was the attorney in that Priscilla and Bridget used to form the companies in Florida. So it says, and I want to read a little bit of this to you, because Priscilla is saying that the Florida action began only after she started writing to Bridget and Kevin and, questioning their actions and asserting her rights. And she says it says those were the words used by the California court in rejecting plaintiff's argument that Ms. Presley had engaged in forum shopping by filing the related California action and noting that it declined to give plaintiffs the gold medal for winning the race to the courthouse. Okay, so what Priscilla is saying is that Bridget and her group, when Priscilla started questioning things and sent them the cease and desist order, which was August 25th of 2023, that they rushed out immediately and filed a suit against her for breach of contract and all those things. Well, according to the documents that are supplied on the Orange County of Florida's court case records, it seemed to me that they had good reason to file a suit, right? Because they're saying that Priscilla breached her duties and that she went to somebody else after they had set up these companies, that she violated them, and all of the things that they were supposed to be doing for her caused them to lose money. But Priscilla is saying now in this court case for elder abuse in California that, oh, no, I didn't know what I was signing. I didn't, none of this is right. They coerced me into doing all of this. This is elder abuse. So now what she's saying is that until the California case has been settled, she thinks the Florida case needs to be put on hold, because if Bridget is found guilty of elder abuse in California, then it can make the contracts that Priscilla signed in Florida null and void. That's her argument, okay? Will that happen? We have to wait and see. But that is the argument. So she says Ms. Presley seeks to stay the instant action on the basis that compelling circumstances exist in support of a stay, and it was filed in anticipation of Ms. Presley's suit. As further explained in Ms. Presley's motion, various factors are present that support the imposition of a stay. First, significant overlap exists between the Florida and California actions, as the California action seeks to void, based on fraud and elder abuse, the very operating agreements that form the entity plaintiffs and upon which they sue. In other words, if the California court determines Ms. Cruz and her associates defrauded and abused Ms. Presley as determined by the California elder abuse statutes, then plaintiffs have no claims to this action. Second, based on the foregoing overlap, failure to stay the Florida action will not only squander judicial resources, but will risk the issuance of inconsistent judgments. Third, while plaintiffs may have filed first in Florida, personal jurisdiction over defendant Presley is still being contested here. So Priscilla is still, and her attorneys are still contesting the fact that Florida has any jurisdiction over her. She's saying that it doesn't, because she's not a resident of Florida. That it doesn't matter that she signed the documents in Florida. And that's why Bridget was giving all of that information, showing that Priscilla had signed a lease for a house, that she had moved her some of her own personal items into the house that she leased. That's a whole nother point of contention. So that's what she's saying here. On the other hand, the California court has already found personal jurisdiction exists over 3 defendants in that case, including one of the plaintiffs here, Ms. Cruz. And denied a motion to stay based on the doctrine, and I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, of forum non conveniens. I think I said that right, I'm not sure. Meaning that the parties are free to engage in discovery on the merits in that proceeding. Fourth, while giving great deference to Florida and its judicial system, the California court has repeatedly emphasized that California has a very strong interest in adjudicating Miss Presley's claims, which involve a California citizen who plaintiffs injured in California. So what they're saying here is that Priscilla was living in California. They came there and, basically, the way I see it, it looks like they're saying that Bridget and Kevin suckered Priscilla into believing that they were going to help her and that they abused her. And just, based on the things that they told her, that they were going to help her, they were going to get everything done, and that Priscilla just, it was just a bad abusive situation. Was it? Is that what truly happened? Will we ever really know? I doubt we ever will. Like I have said many times on these court cases, I think there's guilt on both sides of the coin. I don't think either one of them are innocent. I think there was reasons that Bridget endeared herself to Priscilla. I think there are reasons that Priscilla allowed that friendship to happen. Remember, Bridget's in the auction business. What all happened behind the scenes, we may never know. And so, and if this thing happens to be settled out of court, you can bet there's going to be some NDA signed so that things do not get out, that everything will be sealed. We won't know, because they're not going to want that talk and chatter going on after this is over. And because if it happened, be reason for another suit. They'd get them for slander or something. That's my opinion. Let's keep going here. Where did I stop? Okay. In addition to the foregoing, courts in Florida and across the country find that the first filed rule, also known as the principle of comity or priority, should not be adhered to when a party rushes to the courthouse to file suit in anticipation of litigation. That is exactly what plaintiffs did here. Plaintiffs filed in Florida only after receiving a cease and desist letter from Miss Presley, wherein Miss Presley threatened legal action to protect her interests. This court should refuse to reward plaintiffs' improper gamemanship. So, that's that's interesting, when the suit first came out, we kept thinking, well, Bridget's got a really big case here. But I have to say that it does bother me, and I don't understand why there was such a delay on Priscilla's part. So on August 25th, Priscilla's of 2023, keep that year in mind, Priscilla sent Bridget and the people, that all of the companies that they formed together, a cease and desist letter. Okay. In October, 2 months later, Bridget and her gang go and file suit against Priscilla. Okay. Well, it's not until July 18th of 2024 that Priscilla files in California the elder abuse case. To me, what is that? November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, 9 months, almost 9 months, 8 to 9 months, waiting to file this case. I don't know if that seems like a long period of time in regards to how law works and all of that things. If they were doing discovery, trying to figure out if she had a case for elder abuse, or if she just waited to go and file. Maybe was talking to some attorneys. I don't know. This is all speculation on my part. Was she talking to somebody? Marty Singer, I know, is a friend of hers. So was she talking to them and, this is what's going on. This is what happens. And, got some legal advice and boom, let's file. And, because elder abuse is no small claim, and she's also asked for a trial by jury, which we have talked about. And based on her status as a celebrity and the former wife of Elvis, she's going to carry some weight, Trial by jury, if it goes to trial and it's not settled out of court, and you've got poor little old Priscilla Presley sitting over there, and the attorneys are going to paint a picture of that she was abused and that she was taken advantage of, and how could they do this to her? I think she has a great chance of winning it in California. I really do. And if that happens, I think Bridget is sunk in Florida. I may be wrong. This may be, like I've said before, I have no degree in law. I have nothing. This is just reading documents and trying to make sense of them. It says here in this motion to stay the proceedings, it goes on to say that through the agreements of those companies that Miss Cruz tricked Miss Presley into executing. So they're saying that she tricked them, which is part of the elder abuse. They attempted to secure total control over Miss Presley's personal and professional life. Do you all remember that Priscilla asserted in her deposition that Bridget was trying to keep her away from all of her friends and family, that they were trying to seclude her away from everyone that she cared about and loved? Well, did it happen? I guess that will be up to the jury to decide. But it seems, in just looking as an insider, as an outsider looking in, does it not appear to seem to be a far-fetched claim? Throwing that out, y'all can write your opinions in the comments down below. I find some of the things that Priscilla has asserted to be way out there on this elder abuse thing. I guess we'll see on that too. But on the other hand, some of the things that Bridget has stated has given me pause and reason to wonder. So we will wait and see what happens. Let me see if there's anything else in here that I wanted to talk to y'all about on this. Equitable and compelling circumstances exist to warrant a stay. They say that, put simply, that the similarities between the California and Florida actions and the status in which each is currently in, as well as the risks of inconsistent rulings and or the possibility of extended litigation, all merit the stay of this action while the related California action is litigated. And I can see that. I definitely can. They're going to be spending money. Right now, they're spending money on two fronts. Actually, Bridget's spending money on three fronts because she's got the case going on from Elvis Presley Enterprises against her in the auction dealings. So, I can see that point. So, Okay, we're going to skip over this. We're going to leave that one there. And the last thing that Priscilla did was, it says, Defendant Priscilla Presley's motion to compel plaintiff's discovery responses. This one was a little difficult, I'm going to be honest, for me to really comprehend and understand. It says, on the verge of an evidentiary hearing on Ms. Presley's motions to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction, plaintiffs twice amended their complaint to avoid such a hearing and to attempt, in vain, to expand their claims to try and allege some possible basis for personal jurisdiction over Ms. Presley. Now plaintiffs have stymied all discovery into personal jurisdiction despite this court's clear order allowing such discovery. Indeed, plaintiffs have objected to nearly every request for admission and every document request and refused to provide basic and necessary information. Plaintiffs' meritless objections should be overruled, and plaintiffs should be ordered to immediately produce the requested information so that depositions may proceed before the quickly approaching evidentiary hearing. So, sounds to me like she's accusing them of stalling, of not giving them the information they need so that they can do their due diligence and figure out what's going on. And she cites every single case, every single item as to what they have been stalling on. And I'm not going to go into all of it because this thing I think is like 28 pages and it's really, really long and it's kind of boring, to be honest. So I guess if this motion to stay doesn't go through, then that's why they had to go ahead and get this other thing in about discovery responses, because they've got to go get everything ready because July's coming up really soon, right? So they've got to have their ducks in a row to be ready for this evidentiary hearing. So that's what's going on. It is a conundrum. I think I really don't know what's going to happen with Florida. It's hard to say, but I truly do believe that should Priscilla prevail in California, Florida's going to go away, and there will probably, unless they settle out of court, California and Florida, and it goes to trial. If they don't and they go to trial, I think Priscilla's going to win there. It's just my opinion. I may be wrong, but that's how I see it. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I wanted to kind of give y'all a little update. I am supposed to be having a special guest. She's already agreed, and we are just trying to work through everything, making sure that we get everything right with the recording, because I want this to be perfect. I don't want there to be any glitches. But some of you probably know and have heard about Sandy Miller. Well, she has agreed to be on my show, and I am beyond excited to have her. Sandy Miller met Elvis. She was a gate girl at the house in California, and she and Elvis became very, very good friends. And she has got a lot of stories and things to share. She's a precious lady. I cannot wait to have her on the show and for you all to hear what she has to say. So just, that's something to look forward to. I'm hoping to get it out before my husband's surgery on June 3rd. But if we can't, then it will be afterwards. So, but it's in the works. It's going to come out. I've just got to get it to you guys. So I wanted you to know that. I am excited. It's going to be fun. So I wanted y'all to be excited too, because I know you will be when you listen to her. It's going to be just great. So anyhow, until next time, remember, you only get one shot at this life, so live each day to the fullest, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. See you all later, hopefully next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.